Hello and welcome to BusyWorksBeats.com. Today I'm going to show you how to mix your 808s in FL Studio. We are going to use some stock and some third-party plugins, but I'll show you both ways. Top straight into it. All right, so in FL Studio, we're going to be mixing the Spinz 808. First, I want to say mixing is not one way to do anything. You could have distorted 808s, hard 808s, smoother 808s. There's a lot of different tones for an 808. There's not one way to mix an 808. Firstly, let's start there. Let's hit Control L. Let's send this to the mixer. And now we have our 808 in the mixer. So the first thing a lot of people overlook is just simple clipping, soft clipping. You may think you need to distort the 808, but the problem with that is that you're going to change the waveform dramatically when you do like saturation and distortion techniques, and it makes the 808 weaker in the low end most of the time. So what we're going to use instead of distortion, we're going to use clipping. Now this does create harmonics, but it's not changing the entire part of the waveform. Okay, so let's lower this down. We're first going to lower down what's called the clip threshold. I'll exaggerate it so you guys could hear. So even just lowering that threshold gives you that tone. Because essentially we are changing the shape. We're changing it from a more curved shape to a more pulse wave shape, square shape. Okay, but we want to do this in subtle amounts so it's not super aggressive. So before we get into this, I usually lower this down to, and then we're going to boost the input gain into this clipper. Okay, so as I push it into it, you're going to hear more rumble to the sound. Hear that dun 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 sound. And what we're going to do to like not make our speakers blow up is pull down the gain, the output gain. So now we're just working on the tone instead of just the loudness of it. And after a certain point, you're going to push the sound into the clipper beyond its like point. So I'm going to pull this back a little bit. So we're adding like this noisy pulse wave type sound to the 808. So let's play it before and after. Here's before. Very rounded of a sound. Now here's after. It has like a noisier squared off sound. Now I am going into a limiter, so I'm gonna just move this limiter to my vocal so we're not just like adding stuff to the actual 808. Okay, so let's turn that limiter off. Now going into the clipper, you can also have what's called the soft clip saturation mode. So if we turn this up, it's going to add those harmonics to the sound. And now it's changing out the tone of the sound. It makes it more boxy in my opinion. We hear more knock like, but less like sub frequencies. And this is what happens when you change the waveform with saturation. You lose that rumble in the low end. Let's play before and after just so you guys feel the difference. Let's go to the mixer. Let's turn this off. Here's before. Hear how that low end just kind of sits there? Now after, you don't really perceive the low end as much. So you could rebalance it with an EQ. That's one way to do it. I just don't recommend, there's no one right or wrong way. Like if you listen to the newer artists, they distort the 808s crazy. So let's turn up the ceiling, or the gain, output gain. Again, here's before. And let's see, let's even gain match. This is at -8.75. Then we end up at -4. So let's pull this back 4 dB just to make this comparable. Here's before. Here's after. This has much more impact. Okay, so that's going to translate because we now have the upper harmonics that we need to translate to a phone. What we could do at this point is load up an EQ to add more of that sub frequency back to the sound. I really like boosting 60 and 75 hertz. This is my favorite area for an 808 specifically. These frequencies add the feeling to the 808. For this specific 808, I think 75 works better. It's a little more tonal for this specific 808. Different 808s you want, it depends on the notes you're playing, but 60 to 75 hertz is a sweet zone that I found, 60 and 75 specifically, to get the feel out of the 808. All right, let's play before and after. Here, let's do before. Here's before. Here's after. Another technique you could use is expansion. So this is for more sound design than it is for people who are trying to mix their 808. Again, the 808 should be sound designed perfectly for whatever you're trying to do. You shouldn't have to add a bunch of stuff to your 808. So sound selection is the key, because the way you sound design in 808, it should perfectly be what it should be. You shouldn't have to add to or take away from the 808. But that's, again, depends on you guys' 808 samples. So nextly, we're going to use what's called expansion. So let's switch this to expansion mode. We're going to go to the range. This is basically creates a limit of how much boost we're going to add to it, and determine which part of the 808 we want to boost. So if you want to boost like the knock to the 808, look at around 500 hertz. This is going to give it that knock sound, and let's lower the threshold. Now the knock has to already be in the 808. We're not adding knock. Okay, it has to already have 500 hertz in it. Let's pull down the attack. So what it's doing is boosting the volume of 500 hertz for a small amount of time. So how much time? We're going to tell it to start right away, and then the release time determines how long it's going to boost that area. If I exaggerate the range, you guys will hear more and more of this boost. And now you can hear that knock being expanded with this multi-band compressor. So that's if your 808s just need a little more kick area. That's how you add the knock to it. But most people don't need that much. Now, if your 808 just needs more roundness in the low end, you could lower that frequency down to about 60 hertz. Now, this sounds nice because it's not fighting with the subs. It's just that bassy tone at 120 hertz. Let's do it before and after. You can see with all these adjustments, we lose clarity on that low end, that sub frequency, I should say. So here's where we're going to start pulling back some of these decisions. All right, so now I made the tone a little darker, so it's not as around 100 hertz. Let's do it before and after now. So you'll find with bass that there's trade-offs. So if you want more high end, you're going to sacrifice some of the perceived low end. And if you want more low end, you're going to sacrifice the high end. Here's before. Here's after. All right, so if you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com and look for the Mixing Fundamentals course. Just go to busyworksbeats.com. I'll leave a link below. Subscribe if you're new, like the video, share with a friend. Peace.